morning, everyone. This morning, charges were unsealed against 24 leaders, members, and associates of the Trinitarios gang, a violent transnational criminal organization that has been terrorizing communities across Massachusetts for years. Specifically, in total, 22 alleged Trinitarios gang members are charged federally, 14 of which are charged in connection with 6 homicides. There is an additional 2 individuals charged with murder in Essex County. Essex County also charged and convicted Trinitarios members of 4 additional murders tied to this enterprise. As the court papers make clear, for well over a decade, Trinitarios gang members have engaged in brazen acts of murder, assault, and narcotics distribution, instilling fear in the communities across this Commonwealth, particularly in Lynn and in Lawrence. Today's law enforcement operation has struck a significant blow against the Trinitarios in Massachusetts, virtually dismantling an organization responsible for years of bloodshed, drug trafficking, and lawlessness. Among those charged is the organization's supreme leader, Emmanuel Paulo Cabral, the alleged leader of the organization in Massachusetts, who is alleged to have ordered retaliation against rival gangs, resulting in murders of 4 young men from Lynn. Paulo Cabral once bragged that he was trying to build an empire built by gang members, funded by drug trafficking and theft, protected by violence. Today, that empire has come crashing down, and those responsible for heinous acts of violence and murder have been removed from our streets. In total, 6 murders are alleged to have been committed by the Trinitarios in ruthless, brazen shootings. 2 of the murders took place in 2017 in Lawrence, allegedly committed by Elvis Trujillo. As noted in the court papers, Trujillo is from Honduras and was in the United States illegally when he shot and killed 2 people. The first victim is alleged to have been ambushed and killed by Trujillo and another man on orders from Trinitarios leadership. The second person who participated in the killing is charged with murder by the Essex County District Attorney's Office. Trujillo is alleged to have shot and killed a second victim who was allegedly targeted for a robbery during a marijuana sale. Trujillo is currently in Honduras and is awaiting extradition proceedings. Our hope is that he will ultimately face justice in an American courtroom for the 2 murders he is charged with committing in a single year in a single community. The 4 other murders that have been charged federally took place in Lynn over a period of 4 months in 2023. 2 of the murders were committed over Labor Day weekend at a farewell party for a young man who was heading off to college. Numerous Trinitarios are alleged to have scouted the party where they believed a rival gang member was present. It is alleged that the Trinitarios fired into the group, killing 2 young men, including one who was heading off to college, and wounding 5 others in a drive-by shooting. This incident was captured on video. The Trinitarios are alleged to have gone on to kill 2 more victims in Lynn just days after Christmas in 2023. More retaliation murders allegedly ordered by Paulo Cabral. A few hours after Paulo Cabral gave orders, Trinitarios in a vehicle approached 3 young men in Lynn who were simply walking home. The alleged shooter, state leader Angel Santos, opened fire with a fully automatic firearm, spraying dozens of rounds and killing 2 of the 3 victims, one being a 16-year-old boy. This incident was also captured on nearby surveillance cameras. You could hear the surviving victim screaming out his friend's name, who lay dying in the street 2 days after Christmas. According to court documents, the Trinitarios committed numerous other shootings on the North Shore of Massachusetts, some with automatic weapons. It is alleged that the Trinitarios targeted people simply because of the car they were driving, or they fired at people for being in the wrong neighborhood. The court documents filed today detail brazen violence, shootings of entire neighborhoods, riddling cars and homes with bullets, over petty neighborhood disputes by an organization bent on violence, power, and death. It is alleged that these gang members did not just commit violence, they celebrated it, glorifying their crimes on social media and in music videos, boasting about their involvement in murders, violent attacks, drug trafficking, and firearms offenses. Today, the Trinitarios' reign of terror in Massachusetts has come to an end. Today, our communities are safer with the removal of these alleged violent offenders from our streets and, where appropriate, from our country. According to court documents, some of these individuals are in this country as naturalized citizens or green card holders. Some of these defendants chose to turn the land of opportunity into the land of an opportunist. They used the privilege of citizenship and immigration status to create a criminal empire that has devastated neighborhoods in Massachusetts and destroyed lives. That anarchy ends today. This operation is a testament to the tireless collaboration between federal, state, and local law enforcement. And the message should be clear. If you wreak chaos in our communities or threaten the safety of our residents, we will find you, we will hold you accountable, and we will ensure that justice is done.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Foley, and thank you to your talented team of prosecutors who brought such widespread and impactful charges here. My name is Michael Kroll. I'm the Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations here in New England. I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight the outstanding collaboration among all of our law enforcement partners here, from the Massachusetts State Police, the Lynn Police, Manchester Police, the Essex County District Attorney's Office, ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, FBI, CBP, DEA, ATF, and many others. I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank and send a special shout out to the HSI special agents who worked tirelessly over this last year to bring such an important case to its conclusion. Today, the message should be loud and clear. Transnational criminal organizations and their associates who commit violent acts and who peddle and poison in our communities will never have refuge in the United States. The members of the Trinitarios gang are comprised of both domestic and foreign-born malign actors who have consistently shown a blatant disregard for the rule of law. Through brutal and senseless violence, sadly done only to promote and expand the power, status, and authority of their criminal enterprise. That ends now. As evidenced by this multi-agency response, we in law enforcement have never been more united in our resolve to ensure the safety and security of our communities. That unity and resolve to hold criminals and criminal aliens accountable doesn't end today. It will continue every day as we show our commitment to the American people.
FBI. Good morning, everyone. I'm Assistant Special Agent in Charge Kimberly Milka with FBI Boston. Today's arrests are a win for everyone who lives on the North Shore of Massachusetts and beyond. We've taken 24 Trinitarios off our streets who have allegedly inflicted significant pain, fear, and harm on our communities. The FBI's North Shore Gang Task Force has worked with the Massachusetts State Police and Homeland Security investigations targeting leaders, members, and close associates of this extremely violent Dominican street gang that has shown a reckless indifference to human life. Today's takedown is a good example of our relentless efforts to rid our area of this transnational criminal organization, and our work is not done. We believe everyone charged today engaged in a ruthless and senseless string of attacks, robberies, and murders, terrorizing the communities in which they operated across the state. Many hold leadership positions within the gang and are accused of engaging in bloody street wars while carrying high-capacity firearms and selling deadly drugs, then bragging about it in videos posted online. We allege they use threats, intimidation, and violence to try and protect their territory, reputation, illicit drug proceeds, and power. As a result, 6 Trinitarios have been indicted in connection with 6 murders, 2 that took place in Lawrence in 2017, and 2 double murders that were committed in Lynn in 2023. Make no mistake, what these individuals are accused of doing to their victims is horrific. No one should have to fear being shot in cold blood when going out to dinner, to the store, or simply hanging out inside of their own home. Some of these alleged murders actually left the country in an attempt to avoid answering for their crimes. Like Angel Santos, who crossed over the southern border into Mexico and flew to the Dominican Republic, roughly 6 months after committing a double murder in Lynn. Thankfully, as a result of our strong international partnerships, we're working on bringing them back to answer for what they did. And to the impacted victims and their families, know that the FBI and our law enforcement partners are out here day after day doing all we can to stop criminal organizations like this one from causing more chaos and death. But we also need the public's help. To those of you living in neighborhoods who have been hit hard by gun violence, we ask you to reach out to us with any information you might think helpful. Special thanks to the agents, analysts, and officers who worked so hard on this case. We're also grateful for our strong partnerships with U.S. Attorney Foley, SAC Kroll, Colonel Noble, Essex County District Attorney Tucker, Chief Reddy and their teams, along with all the departments that are members of our North Shore Gang Task Force. Every one of them were critical to the success of today's operation. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Colonel Jeff Noble from the Massachusetts State Police. Today's operation sends a message that deadly gang violence, as well as illegal gun and drug trafficking, have no place in the Commonwealth. Operations like this one are dangerous, that require focus, coordination, and precision. I commend the efforts of our brave troopers and law enforcement partners who have worked tirelessly for months to bring these criminals to justice today. Without their hard work, determination, and courage, in this coordinated team of investigators and prosecutors, these dangerous gang members would still be on our streets. Thank you to all of our troopers who have worked on these cases and subsequent arrests alongside our local and federal partners. We cannot forget the victims in these cases and families who no longer have loved ones because of these crimes that these men are accused of. We hope these arrests give some small form of comfort to those families who have lost so much in the face of senseless violence. The Massachusetts State Police remain steadfast and laser focused on fighting gang activity and ensuring that our communities are safe places for all of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Tucker. I'm the District Attorney for Essex County. Today is a good day. This day would not have been possible but for the strong commitment and unwavering commitment for justice by a United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, our HSI and FBI partners who have been phenomenal partners with the team, our Massachusetts State Police troopers who are doing this job every single day in such a professional way, and to the local police departments, in particular the Lynn Police Department under the command of Chief Reddy. These indictments today really represent a strategic partnership of law enforcement at its finest. If you look at the breadth and the scope of this investigation, the magnitude of the work that went in, it's nothing short of breathtaking. Although these crimes that are charged go back many years, I want to focus briefly, if I may, on the time period from August of 2023 to December of 2023, where a wave of violence was unleashed upon the city of Lynn. Multiple shootings, homicides, criminal acts of robbery and drug trafficking. When we heard from the community, and it really hits to the heart of what a community is, when kids were afraid to walk to school, when families and community members were afraid to come out at night. I stood on Essex Street on September 2nd of 2023, just hours after the shooting that the U.S. Attorney talked about. Think about a celebration where somebody is being sent off for their freshman year of college, and that celebration is punctuated by gunfire. 7 people shot, 2 fatally. That morning on Essex Street, just hours after that shooting, I was there with Chief Reddy, the men and women of the Lynn Police Department, Mayor Jared Nicholson. You could see the fear, the anxiety. It was palpable. And having the opportunity to stand here today to close that loop, to make sure that we brought justice for those families that we swore to do that day. There's nothing like seeing families that are in such distress, who have lost so much after crimes like these, to be able to stand here today and bring a measure of justice. There's some sense of gratitude, not only for the families, but for law enforcement as well. As the Essex County District Attorney, I'm very proud of the team that we have. Specifically, our Assistant District Attorney, Jess Strasnick, who is here today. I watched her day after day after day marshal the resources, pull in coalitions, make the partnerships, reach out to our federal partners. This is nothing short of just amazing, the work that was done. And to be able to meet with the families this morning and to bring a sense of justice, and I saw the relationships, I saw the reaction when they saw ADA Strasnick this morning. It was amazing to see. Our state police contingent that's assigned to my office under the command of Captain John Costa, Lieutenant Robert DeMayo, detectives Dave Strong and Matt Murphy, they put their heart and soul into this. They know what partnerships are. They know that partnerships work. That's what brings us here today. I want to specifically and specially thank the Lynn Police Department. During these violent episodes, Lynn PD stood strong. Chief Chris Reddy, his command staff, and the men and women of Lynn PD did amazing work, as they continue to do, keeping the streets of Lynn safe. They stand between good and evil. They protect the residents of Lynn like nothing I've seen before. And but for the efforts of the men and women of Lynn PD, we would not be here today. Because of this complex investigation, it is safe to say that the Trinitario criminal enterprise has been disrupted and dismantled, and the streets of Lynn and the North Shore are safer for it today. Thank you to all of our partners. We're very grateful at the Essex DA's office.
Some questions? Here's Attorney Foley. When we spoke to you a couple weeks ago, you talked about how one of the challenges in a situation like this is immigration meets prosecution. It seems like you have a range of immigration status among these defendants. Is that a concern for you, that some people might not be prosecuted here in Massachusetts?
I don't know who's not going to be prosecuted here.
Well, we had talked about how sometimes people get deported or in another country before you're able to bring them to justice.
Now, the people who are charged federally in these indictments and in Essex County are going to be prosecuted and held accountable.
Mr. Attorney, just so people understand, how big a deal is this in the overall scheme of the state and crime in Massachusetts?
So the Trinitarios have chapters in numerous communities in Massachusetts and including in county correctional facilities. Taking out their leadership is going to create a void, and it has created a void. And we do believe that by taking out the leadership, the people who were ordering the murders, the retaliation, the intimidation of witnesses, the burglaries, the armed robberies, those people, the most dangerous ones, the masterminds of this, have been taken off of the streets. And so we do expect and hope that it will have an impact on violence in our communities.
Is this one of the largest gangs in Massachusetts, and how does it compare to chapters of this in other states? How does Massachusetts sort of compare?
As the attorney said, the Trinitarios is a transnational criminal organization with a hierarchy, a structure, very formalized. I would say Massachusetts, it's a significant presence here with multiple chapters and of course, members that are throughout the state and beyond. I would just say one is too many. So today, obviously, you see the results. Where we stand with the Trinitarios is a significant blow to them as an organization. I'm sorry?
Do you know when they started to organize here in the state, when they sort of started?
I don't have specific dates of when they began, but, they've been here for a long time.
But how can you be confident, that you have actually rooted out this gang? Because this is not the first time, I would say, members of this gang have been indicted, arrested, charged. What makes you confident that this is, a significant blow?
This has been a long investigation. There have been many people who have been interviewed, and information and evidence that we have gathered throughout the investigation, including from cell phones that have been seized from indicted defendants. Those communications stored on those phones alone give you a very broad look at what this organization was, who was running it, who was operating within it, and what their status was within the organization. Those extractions from these phones are like a gold mine, and they are a roadmap to showing how they operated on a daily basis and how they recruited to continue to grow their numbers here.
Can you speak about the victims of these murders and attempted murders? It seems, obviously I haven't gotten to read all of this yet, but it seems like some of them are believed to be rival gang members. Are others just innocent bystanders?
There were some innocent bystanders in this, including the boy who was going off to college.
Can you talk a little bit about, I know that there are 9, I guess, that will appear in court later today, and you talked about Cabral, the leader, being in custody. Is he one of the 9 that will be there today? Can you sort of give us just an idea of, I know you're trying to extradite some, like how many of the leaders are actually in custody and how many are in other places?
So I believe 8 are in custody. 1 is still at large, enforcement is trying to apprehend him. So we do believe that 8 will be in court today. 2 are in Honduras, and we believe that the extradition is moving forward there, and they will arrive as soon as that procedure is completed there. And so,
Cabral, one of the ones?
oh yes, Cabral is in custody, and he will be appearing in federal court today.
Hierarchical, like looking at how the structure is. So in terms of, you have leaders, right? You have members, you have associates. So in terms of the hierarchy, you have Cabral in custody. How about others within that hierarchy?
Yes, there are the other leaders that are in custody right now. And Cabral, as charged in the federal indictment, is alleged to have participated in 4 different murders.
Can you rank them too? I know we've talked.
Mastermind?
Sorry.
Is he the person you consider, he's at the top of the pyramid of photos. Is he the leader? Is he the mastermind?
I believe the term that they use is the state supreme. So yes, he was the leader of the Trinitarios gang in Massachusetts.
The term that the gang used?
Yes, it was their term.
Can you talk about, I mean, I know we've seen similar cases over the decades with various groups of gangs, NS-13. Where does this group fit in? We can see they're involved in a number of violent incidents and murders, but where do they fit in terms of organized crime and in terms of dominance in this area?
They are a documented transnational criminal organization. They began in the 1990s in a prison at Rikers where some defendants were awaiting trial for murder. The gang was started there, and after they went out to organize, recruit members, and part of the initiation is knowing that these new members and initiates are going to have to commit crimes of violence. And they don't just target adults. There are teenagers that are also being groomed to become parts of this organization.
Can you talk a little bit about that? I'm particularly interested in the fact that it seems like they recruited in Lawrence and Lynn High.
Yes, that is the information that's alleged in the court documents, is that some of the recruits began with children. And again, as alleged in the court papers, they didn't have any morals compass to say, no, we can't go there. We have to only go to where the bad people are. No, they cast a wide net, and they recruited very vigorously.
I see that one person there is listed as the Manchester, New Hampshire chapter, and I was just wondering how significant is the presence of this gang in the surrounding states? Like, are we aware of that? Because, you know, I mean, we're focused on Massachusetts here, but I was just wondering regionally how big of a presence it is.
So do you want? Go ahead. My understanding is that the presence in Manchester was growing and is well connected to the organization here in Massachusetts and was taking some direction from Massachusetts. And I believe the state supreme, as alleged in the court documents, also was in control of New Hampshire. And as we know from years of prosecuting drug cases, the connection between Lawrence, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire is strong.
Dave Tucker, could I ask
Sure.
you, I guess, what was this, when did it go from becoming murders that we were investigating, your office was investigating locally, to becoming a federal investigation? Was it just overwhelming for local and state resources?
So some of these murders go back 8 years. I've been in office now for 2 years. We started actively investigating when I took office. We had things underway. We had great folks that were working on this. Once we realized the scope of what we were facing, we've always had great relationships previously, excuse me, with our federal partners. So it was an easy call to make. FBI, HSI immediately came on board. The U.S. Attorney's Office, particularly the leadership and Phil Mallett, Assistant U.S. Attorney, we had meetings. We put things in place to work together. It was a great coalition, and I give great credit to our ADAs. I mentioned Jeff Strasnick for the ability to know what we can do and then when we need to reach out. And the federal partners, as they always have been, and our state police, were always willing to jump right in. So.
Yeah, you've been a prosecutor, a police chief. Was this personal for you this day?
So I had a 32-year career in law enforcement prior to becoming DA. I've met with victims of crimes. I've sat in their living rooms. I've had to give people bad news. Days like today make all of those cases that we had to work on worthwhile. If you draw a straight line from seeing the faces of the victims on Camden Street, on Essex Street in Lynn, and then to have the opportunity today to meet with the family members, that's very gratifying. And I know that the agents, the troopers, the detectives, I know they all feel the same way. I know our assistant DAs do as well. It's very gratifying to be able to bring a case like this. This is a tremendous investigation. I hope it's not lost on anybody, the complexity and the breadth of this case. To bring it to fruition today is just magnificent.
Talk a little bit more about your meeting with the families, also their reaction, how do they feel, what did they say, et cetera.
So they met at our office this morning, and a number of them will be here today. I would say they were incredibly grateful. Unfortunately, they had to relive some of the trauma that it is that brought them to this day today. But to see their faces and to see them interact with our personnel who they've been dealing with sometimes on a daily and weekly basis, I know some of the folks, when they saw ADA Strasnick, were just so incredibly grateful. They got a 6:30 a.m. call this morning to ask to come to our office. And you can imagine the trepidation and some of the anxiety, having to relive some of what they've already gone through, the past trauma of dealing with this violence. But overall, I think gratitude, particularly for everybody that worked on this case, was overwhelming, and it made everybody feel good.
Were the arrests all made today, or how did it?
So today, investigators went out to arrest 9 different individuals. 8 of them were made this morning.
Can you talk about the others, like there was another 10 or so? Are they already in custody? Are they being sought? The others that are named? You mentioned 22.
I cannot tell you exactly where they all are. 2 of them are definitely in Honduras. I believe 1 is in the Dominican Republic, and there are others who have already been arrested.
Can you give us, so some of them are already in custody, like basically, just trying to get a handle that you don't have half of them that you're looking to have, if you have some sense of.
I believe some documents are still under seal, so we can't.
I can give you the numbers.
When you were talking about the double murder and the innocent bystander, the young man who's been consumed, I know it's probably all in these documents that we have not had a chance to look through yet. Is there any particular suspect who is tied to that young man? I don't know if anybody.
So,
We can find it.
September, it's Darwin Batista.
yep.
Darwin Batista, and so these are the 6 charged with September. So these are the shooters are this one, and second one. The rest are participants.
Okay. So the alleged shooters in the September 2nd shootings in Lynn, the alleged shooters are Justin Alba and Darwin Batista. Also charged in the indictment with that murder are Paulo Cabral, Kevin Lorenzo Roman, Michael Miliano, and James Jimenez.
Can you say with confidence that this Trinitario gang is over in Massachusetts?
I can say with confidence that the people on this stage and all the law enforcement in this state are not going to stop until it's totally taken out.
So there's more to be done.
This investigation is continuing. Yes, our goal is to eliminate the Trinitarios' presence in Massachusetts.
Can you say just lastly on punishment, obviously there are harsher penalties, well, murder would be a life and under the state system, but are these death penalty eligible, any of these?
As charged in the indictment right now, it's not death penalty eligible.
Anybody else? Thank you.
We'll follow your